Picture this, all right? Paint this image in your head. Okay. It's a dude, I don't know, let's call him Bob. Okay. Bob wants to start his social media marketing agency. He saw that one Iman Gaji video on his recommended, and he's tired of being broke. He's fired up, okay, and he wants to make some money online, so he consumes a bunch of SMMA content on YouTube. That's pretty much the content he watches now, and he's doing research, and he's like, I want to start an agency. I'm going to assume that you are Bob, okay? I'm going to assume that you're that guy that wants to start his agency, or maybe you already started your agency and you haven't gotten any clients and you're in the beginning stages. But if you already have an established agency making 5K a month or more, this video still applies to you too, especially if you're not already doing cold calls. But for the rest of this video, I'm going to assume that you guys are Bob, okay? And quick disclaimer, I'm not saying that cold calling is the best outreach method. At the end of the day, the best outreach method is the one that works for you and your niche. Obviously, if your niche is e-commerce, and by the way, it shouldn't be if you're just starting out, then cold calls will probably not be the most optimal outreach method. But if your niche is something like local dentists or optometrists, or maybe local health stores, maybe it's local contractors, you guys see the theme, local. Yeah, that should be your niche. Local businesses should be your niche if you're starting. Then you need to do cold calls. I'm going to do a separate video on why your beginning niche should be local businesses. But if you made the right beginning niche choice, or if your niche is not local and you think cold calling might be a hidden gem to add to your agency, then this video is for you. So first, I'm going to tell a story of how I implemented this. I did thorough research on business and SMMA for about 3 weeks before I started my own agency. And when I say thorough research, I mean thorough research. I scoured YouTube for all the SMMA content I could find, even the ones that I wasn't interested in, all for the sole purpose of learning the lingo of business and expanding my knowledge. I've considered so many different niches and outreach methods, so trust me that when I say that there was a point in time where I was overwhelmed with so many options, okay? But at the end of the day, that research paid off because I concluded that cold calling local businesses was the best way to get my agency off the ground. And I ended up signing my first client in 4 cold calls. You can see what making the right choices does to your agency. If you're interested in how I did that, you can check this video. I'm going to put it probably in the top right of the screen, somewhere in the video, maybe in the description. I'm going to list this video. And that video goes into more detail of how I did it. But the point of this is that I used cold calls as my outreach method. And with the research I did, I devised a simple cold call script that I used for local trades businesses and found almost immediate success with it. Well, by the way, you might be wondering, what about after those 4 cold calls? What happened to all the cold calls after that? Did you keep signing clients in 10 or less cold calls? Well, the answer to that is I actually haven't done more cold calls than 4. I've only done 4 cold calls in my entire life. So it's not like I'm selling the fact that I sold my first client in 4 cold calls and the rest of my cold calls I didn't. No, I truly did sign my first client in 4 cold calls, and there's nothing stopping me from signing another one in my next 10. In my next 20, there's nothing stopping me from signing 2. There's no proof that cold calls do not work. In fact, I'd say the opposite. There's proof that cold calls do work, especially when made to local businesses in the way that I'm going to explain to you guys in this video. If I was able to sign a client in 4 cold calls, then you guys can do it too. There's nothing stopping me from doing it, and there's nothing stopping you from doing it. You guys just need to put in the time and do it right. So before we get into how you should cold call, how I recommend you should cold call, we're going to talk about why you should cold call, okay? And there's one main reason, in case you're not convinced yet, there's one main reason why cold calling is good, and it's the fact that it's quick and efficient, okay? When you do a cold call, there can only be 2 outcomes. 1, the person says they're not interested, and 2, the person says they're interested. It's just a yes or no answer. It's to the point. If the person isn't interested, all you say is, okay, have a great day, and you go next. If they are interested, well, then you say something like, we can go into further detail in a 30-minute call. When are you available? Boom, you book the meeting. It's a yes or no answer. You get things done much quicker. One email or DM conversation can take 1 day, and that same conversation takes 30 seconds to 2 minutes in cold calls. It's just more bang for your buck. It's more ROI, you could say. I guess you learned that term pretty recently. On top of that, you get the added benefit that not being shy over the phone and sounding confident enough to sell something over the phone specifically is a crucial sales skill. And you need to hone that, right? And you get to hone that if you start to cold call, right? So stop being scared of it. No one's gonna bite. No one's gonna do anything to you. Man up and pick up the phone. You guys are gonna get results doing that. Take it from me, okay? So that's it for the disclaimers and the introduction. Now we're going to talk about the meat and potatoes of this video. We're going to talk about how to cold call. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, so here's my local business cold call script, as you guys can see from my lovely title. This script, by the way, I got mainly from this YouTuber called Thomas Gonnet in his live cold calls video. I definitely recommend you guys check out his channel. He is sort of the channel I'm trying to become, or sort of the kind of channel I'm trying to become. It's no BS, the back-end systems of every agency, service delivery, all of that. And I'm going to be a channel like that as well. And this is where I got that cold call script from. I altered it to my needs, and I recommend you guys do the same thing when you look at this one, okay? So first thing, you guys are gonna ignore this box for now. We're gonna explain that at the end. First thing you're gonna ask, obviously, is, hi, am I reaching the owner of the business that you guys want to talk to, right? So they're gonna say yes, and then when they do, you're gonna say, okay, well, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is a cold call, so I do have something to pitch to your business. If you're not interested in any offers, you can hang up now, or you can give me 30 seconds, and then you can decide after that. Obviously, this might seem like you're begging them to answer, or to give you 30 seconds, but you're not, right? You're abundant. You're saying, I have something to pitch. If you're not interested, just hang up now. Don't waste my time, right? You're kind of getting right into it. And I found that a lot of the time saying this, they're not going to cut you off. They're going to let you speak. And that's what you need. So then after that, they say, yes, go ahead. Then you're going to say, okay, well, first of all, a little bit about me. I started a digital marketing company with team members of over 6 years of experience. Obviously, you're going to put in your own credentials. If you have 7 years of experience, do that. If you have 5, do that. And you're going to say where you live, right? That's important because you're calling local businesses. So you're going to say you live in, the local place that you're calling. I live in X town, and I'm helping my community's local businesses grow through Facebook and Google marketing, or whatever your service is, right? If hypothetically you were to work with us, the process is simple. All we're going to do is take a chunk of your monthly income. We're going to double, triple, and sometimes even quadruple it through digital advertising. And we're simply going to collect a small fee from that amount. Does that sound good to you? Or does that sound like a good offer to you, right? You're going to say something like that. The reason why I include this, we take a chunk of your monthly income, is because in my specific niche, like I said, I talk to trades. In trades, the customers are usually high paying. So it is very easy for me to get them a return on ad spend through that. So that's why I am pitching something in my cold call. I'm not actually giving them the amount or any numbers like that, just kind of telling him what's going to happen if he works with us. And that's very important. That's something I took from Thomas Gonnet's script. He kind of explained what he did with his niche, kind of explained the service that he did. And obviously he's a more established agency, so he actually knows exactly what he does with each of his clients. I don't, right? I'm a starting agency. So I'm just going to speak in very general terms of what I plan to do with my clients. And that's something you guys should do too, something that sounds very attractive to you and something that's also manageable for you. For me, this is manageable because of the niche I picked. This part right here, obviously, when you ask them this question, they're going to say something. All you're going to do is listen to their response and answer accordingly. This might take experience, but for me, this wasn't a problem. Maybe I just haven't been asked a question that's difficult to answer yet. I mean, this is, I've only done 4 cold calls, right? So maybe I just haven't had the experience to say so, but the times that, they've said, they've answered this question, does that sound like a good offer? It's been a really easy to answer question. And most of the time, the complicated questions are going to be answered in the first meeting anyway. So I'm sure you guys will be fine in that aspect. You guys, should take the lead at that point, shouldn't follow the script at that point, should speak from your own words. Then after that, everything seems good. They kind of agree with you. They kind of are interested. You're just going to say, well, in that case, I'd like to go into more detail in a quick 15-minute call and ask you a few questions about your business. Are you available at the time that you want to meet with them? And this part right here, are you available, is super, super important. The reason why it's important is because they can take a long time to schedule with you. And if you are the one that sets up the time, it is very difficult for them to cancel on you. However, you are going to get some people that are not going to be available at the time. And by the way, there is a tip for the time to pick. It depends on your niche, but most of the time, if you're calling local businesses that have a job, you're going to want to make it at noon because that's usually when they're taking their break, or in the morning because that's usually when they haven't started doing any work. Or if they're willing to do it, if you think it's going to work, you can do it after work, but I don't recommend that personally. It depends on the person, right? So there's a chance that they're not available at the time that you say. And then at that point, you are going to have to settle for them setting up the call. And when the call is set up, whether you set it up or not, you're going to send them a follow-up text. Obviously, right here, this is where you get their information. This is where you get their phone number, their email, or maybe just their phone number. You don't really need their email. And you get their phone number, and this is where you're going to follow up text them the day before the meeting and let them know that there's a meeting tomorrow, and they're going to reschedule with you if they can, and if they can, they're going to tell you that they're ready to have the meeting. So that's how you set it up. But what if they say no to this first answer? That's what this little box here is for. If you ask if you're reaching the owner and they say no, well, all you're going to ask is if you can please speak with them, and if they say yes, just continue on with your script. If they don't, well, this is what you're going to say. You're going to say, okay, well, this is a cold call, so I do have something to pitch to the business. Same thing as before. But instead, now this time you're going to say, so since they're busy at the moment, I'd just like you to run it through them. Is that okay? Now, I'm not going to lie. This happened to me in my second and third cold calls, and both times that I got to this part, they said no, right? They said some sort of excuse for, no, I can't run it through them, right? That's because the secretary's job is to filter out calls, filter out spam, filter out calls that they think their boss is not going to want to hear. So if you do land the owner, you have much greater chance, but that doesn't mean you should give up if you land some sort of secretary. This is what you say if you land some sort of secretary. I haven't found any success with this yet. Again, I've only done 4 cold calls in my entire life, but you guys can be the judge of this. Again, I'm going to do a live cold calls video, so maybe we'll see how that works then. So that's the script. That's how you guys work yourselves around the script. Make sure to alter the script to your needs and your niche and your service and everything. Don't just copy this. And now I'm just going to go over a few tips. You guys need to be confident when you talk. Not to bash Thomas, but the creator of the script, Thomas Gonnet, if you go look at the video of him doing cold calls with this script, you can actually see that he isn't a 10 out of 10 speaker. He isn't a 10 out of 10, he doesn't have, his skill of talking over the phone is not leveled up. Let's just put it that way, right? It's not a leveled up skill for him, right? And the reason why he gets so many meetings and so much success is because he's an established agency that has a no-brainer, attractive offer that he pitches over the phone. And that's really important for you guys. I just wanted to mention that. But the point that I'm talking about now is confidence in your speech and not stuttering and stumbling your words. You don't want to use things like, you don't want to say like, you don't want to sound too casual. You want to sound professional. The best way for you guys to deal with the anxiety of being on the phone, one, obviously, is to just do it more. But second, and this is advice that I don't think I've seen in any SMMA YouTube video, it's to literally like daydream about it. And I don't mean daydream in a like wishy-washy cringy way. I mean it in like, during the day, just make scenarios of where you're in a cold call and you book a meeting through a cold call and just picture how it's gonna go, right? Like picture it to the point where it's pretty much that time that you spend picturing it and that time that you spend acting out that scene is literally just practice. Think of it like that. You're simply practicing through visual training, which is a thing in sports, you're actually doing visual training, which is really good. And on top of that, you're doing actual training with your words, right? So this is definitely something you guys do need to do. Definitely act out scenarios, and that's your practice. That's how you stop stumbling your words. That's how you don't say things like you don't sound super, like you don't know what you're doing, right? You want to sound like you know what you're doing. You want to sound confident. You want to sound like you guys have conviction. If you guys watched my last video, you know that I mentioned conviction. That is super important. If you guys don't know what conviction means, look it up. Very important. You guys need to sound like you have conviction, especially over the phone, especially since first impression is what's going to matter in cold calls. And if you're not an established business, which I'm assuming you're not, then you're going to need to make up for that with good speaking abilities. So the tip I have to improve that is to make scenarios. So that's pretty much all the tips that I wanted to run through. Again, also make sure you're using your own words. This is just a script. You want to be altering this as you talk. You want to make sure it's always different because you want to get in your flow, right? Okay, guys, so that's it for me. That's it for my cold call guide. Very short guide on how to do the actual cold call. That's probably because cold calling isn't actually that complicated, so don't make it more complicated than it is. Just go and do it, and you'll see how easy it is for you guys to get clients with cold calls. So that's phase one, and that's how to get them into the first meeting, how to book that meeting. And phase two is how to conduct that first meeting to get them into a second meeting and get them more interested in your agency, right? If you guys want to see a video on phase two, that's probably going to be my next video, but if you guys want to see it, please let me know down in the comments and definitely interact with this video. If you guys want to see something else like me doing live cold calls, which is something I definitely plan to do in the future, also let me know and I'll just do whatever I think is most popular. Whatever I see the commented most of is what I'm going to do. I'm definitely going to do live cold calls to prove to you guys that this works, but I also want to show you guys how to, the whole process of signing one client. So definitely make sure you interact with this video, like and subscribe so more people like Bob can see this video. More people trying to learn how to sign their first client and how to manage an agency can see this video from a perspective of someone who is just slightly ahead of them in order for them to get an insight on how to do it properly. So that's everything from me. I'm going to see you guys later. Peace out.